So guys, welcome to the fourth session, and this is the last session, and in this session we will learn about how to plot live graph, as well as we will see how to plot three-dimensional graphs. Okay, for example, we already learned how to draw line plots, scatter plots, bar plots, and now we will see how to draw them in three dimensions. Okay, so in this video we will just see how to plot a live graph, and basically for that you can't really use this Matplotlib. Yeah, there are some ways you can use live plots in Matplotlib, but I'll suggest you use any kind of ideally except Matplotlib, except the Jupyter notebook and Spider. Okay, so we will use this VS Code. You can see Visual Studio Code, and we are inside that particular folder. Okay, and we have this example .txt. Let me just open that thing, example.txt. Yeah, so you can see we have these things. Okay, so 1 2 3 4, these are like the x-axis values, and then we have the y-axis values. Okay, so let's just quickly create a Python file, right? So live plot.py. So obviously we need matplotlib, so we are going to write over here import matplotlib dot py plot as plt. Okay, and then we also need animations. Okay, so import matplot it should be matplotlib dot animation as animation. Okay, and now let's just use some kind of stylings so that it looks good, right? So plt dot style dot use, and then inside the parentheses we have to write 538, which is basically my favorite one, 538. And now let's just make a figure and the axis. We already learned the figure and axis inside in the subplot tutorial, so yeah, we are going to use that thing. So fig will be equals to plt dot figure. Okay, and then we need the axis, so ax or anything you can write over that, ax1 ax2 anything. So yeah, it should be fig dot at underscore subplot. Yeah, and it should be 1 comma 1 comma 1. Okay, fine. And yeah, now we need that the example1.txt inside this Python file, right? We can actually make a function which will open this file whenever we need them, right? So yeah, def animate, or you can write anything over there, right? And it should be I over here. I actually is an argument. So yeah, inside the animate function we obviously need to open that example.txt. So I'll just make a variable called data, and that will be equals to open, and then inside the parentheses we need to write that particular file name, that is example.txt, and then we need to write over here why you are going to import or use this file as a read, write, or whatever. So actually we need to read that particular text file. We don't need to modify anything. We don't need to write anything over there. So I'll just write over here r. Okay, and then we also need to write over here dot read. Fine. And you can see that inside this file we have the first data, then in the next line we have the second data. So we obviously need to use lines over here. That means every particular line is divided by the next line. So it should be data dot split, and then it should be the new line quotation like \n. And now lines will contains all the lines, and now we actually need to separate the x-axis values and y-axis values. The first one is the x-axis values, and the second one is the y-axis values, right? So yeah, I'll just make a list. X values equals to a list, and y values equals to a list. Okay, and then we need to use for loop so that it can iterate every time how long this file is. So for line in lines, we actually first of all need to separate these two things, right? So x this is the total line, so we actually need to separate it by comma, right? So yeah, let's just write over here x comma y is equals to line dot split, and then it should be comma and space. You can clearly see over here we have this comma, then a space. Okay, I think there is no space actually, so I'll just remove this space from here. And now we need to append the x and y with the x values and y values list. So x underscore values dot append, it should be x over there, and y underscore values dot append, it should be y over here, right? And now we have the x-axis and y-axis value. Now let's just plot the diagram, live plot, right? So yeah, so let's just use that thing. So yeah, inside the function we actually need to write over here ax dot plot, and the x-axis values is x values and the y-axis values are y values, right? And yeah, that's it. Now let's just quickly use the animation so that it can actually, it is not an animation, it is a loop which will run after a certain time. Okay, so if there is any change in between that time, it will just change that thing inside the plot. Okay, so yeah, we'll just write over here any is equals to create that live plot. We just need to use this function that is we imported over here as animation. So yeah, animation dot, it has a thing that is function animation, you can clearly see over here. So let's just use that thing, and now we need to pass the figure. So fig is the figure we have, then we have to pass the function where the where the iteration is happening, so it is animate, right? And now we actually need to write the interval which will pass as an argument in the animate function. You can see we have this I over here. So yeah, let's just write over here interval is equals to 1000 millisecond. It is actually in milliseconds, so if you wanna make it an interval of minutes, so you have to calculate according to that. Okay, so yeah, now let's just use plt.show. You can obviously also use the plt.title, x label and y labels. I'm not going to use that thing for now, so that the video should not be that long. Okay, so now I saved that file. Now let's run it. So yeah, you can see we have these x and y axis values, right? So let's just open that particular file, example1.txt, and you can clearly see the color is also changing after 1 second, right? So that is because of it is actually checking whether there is any change in the file or not. And you can see in the one we have this 10 values. So yeah, in the one we have this 10 values, then 2 is 4, you can see 4, then 8, then 9, 11, and continuing, right? So now let's just change the file. So 11 comma, let's just write 8. Okay, so it should be at a new value in the x-axis, like after 10 it should be 11, and it will plot like in this point, like because there is this 8 over here, so it will the graph will decrease till this point. Okay, so now if I save this example1.txt, you can see it drew live, right? There is no time delay, nothing happens, and it is a live plot. Similarly, if I just change few more times, so for example 12 comma 50, now I'm using some bigger values, and oops, and then 13 comma 8. Okay, and now if I save it, so yeah, you can see in the 12 we have this 50 value, and in the 13 we have this 8 value again, right? So yeah, in this way you can plot a live graph. Okay.